Welcome back to Integrate This. This is our second episode of this season, and we're starting off with our real, first focus tool. And Jeremy and I are going to be covering Figjam by Figma, which Figma offers kind of now a series of different things that are available and some things in beta testing. But overall, a really good program to be using, especially as an educator, and being that you can get their basic package for free. And so Jeremy and I are going to cover a variety of different things focused on Figjam and what it has to offer. And we'll also go through how to set up an account. And we'll talk a little bit about what you can do for collaboration. So Jeremy's going to take it away to start with our creating an account for free as a teacher and getting into some original creating.
Right. And I think it's important to note here too, why this is, I think, a timely episode for teachers here this fall, is that Jamboard, which has been a Google product and it's been around for several years, and has kind of been that digital whiteboard space, collaborative space that teachers and students, many of our different districts have had teachers that have used it, is sunsetting. And it's no longer going to be available for use or for edits beginning after December 31st of this year. So, it kind of then means that what we need is a good alternative to what you're able to do with Jamboard. And I think David and I agree that Figma is a great alternative for that. So I'm going to start here. And so when you go to Figma, if you go to figma.com/education, here's a chance where you can create your own account and be verified as an educator. Because as David pointed out, you want to be able to take advantage of the free tools for educators that are available within Figjam itself. And so once you go through the Get Verified process, you'll be able to get access to those different things. One of the first things that you may want to do, especially if you had used Jamboard in the past, is make your Jamboards available in Figjam. And so there is a nice little information post that Figjam has about how to migrate your Google Jamboards to Figjam. And we'll share this link as well as the steps within the show description so that you'd be able to go right to it and begin to import from those different things that you have. So I'm going to go into my Figjam account though and just demonstrate that as well. And so here is I've been logged into Figjam here, and I'm in this drafts part of my account that you could see over here on the left-hand side. And I'm going to go under this create new little drop-down arrow that is here. And I'm going to choose to select import. When I do this, it's going to ask me if I have a file on my computer or if I want to add Jamboard files. So Figma's anticipating this sunset of Google's Jamboard product and is making these steps pretty easy to be able to do that. Once you do that, you have to connect your Figjam account to your Google Drive. And so I'm just clicking on a couple boxes here to connect that account and then give it access to it. And once I do, it is bringing up for me this select files to import. So one I'm going to select to import is this one for a lesson that I had done on civil rights with some American government students that I had when I was in the classroom teaching a political science course. And I'm going to select this one here, and it's beginning to import that draft into Figjam, and it has successfully done that. So here's the one that it just imported. It was a 2-slide Jamboard that I had, and now that it's imported, it brings it, actually there are 3 slides, I guess. I'm not going to use, and it brings them in as these different slides on your Jamboard. Now, one of the things that you'll notice here with this Jamboard is that it is this really large white canvas space that is all around. And if I were to use my trackpad to pinch and zoom, you can see that there's a lot of space all around this that I can use. I don't have to use it all. I could really expand and use all of it if I wanted to. Now, what's really kind of nice here too is if I want to focus in on part of my Jamboard here, I can center this and then just zoom in on this one part that I wanted to focus on here for this particular assignment or task or whatever you're doing. But then it's pretty easy to slide over and grab the next things that you want. So this was an activity that with Jamboard, I had students create sticky notes and things for to add to these different slides. And so I'm going to show you kind of quickly on how you can do some of those different things and add some of the other tools that are on here. The first things that I want to show you are some of these tools down here on the bottom. This select tool, once it's selected here, you see that I can use to grab the different parts on here. And if I hold down the shift key and select these different things, you'll see that it highlights them all. And then I can use to move and drag those different things as I see fit. The other thing is if you want to move the whole presentation by itself, all of the different pieces around, if I grab the hand tool, you're going to see that it moves all of these different slides around. And if I zoom out, you can see it even easier. And I can put it wherever on that canvas that I want to put it. And that's using the hand tool. But if I want to point in again on a certain part of it here, I'm going to scroll into this. Now, the next thing that I would maybe want to do if this were my presentation now that it's in Figjam is to make these parts different sections. And sections allows you to do some different things with it, like open it and close it to students being able to view it. So I'm going to take this first slide that you'll see here outlined with that black line, and I'm going to choose this button down here in the middle that is called section. And then I'm going to be able to create a box around that first slide that I have and make it a section. So now everything that's on that slide is going to be grouped together. And so what I can then do is I can rename this section, right? And I can call it segregation. Okay, so that I know what that topic is. But the other thing that I can do here with this section also is I can click on this I button and I can hide it. So now any student that has access to this Figjam is only going to be able to see the parts that I make available for them to be able to see. So I'm going to do the same thing here with these other two slides that I have by making them sections and renaming these sections. Okay, and one more. And make this the third one, and I can rename this too. Right? And also make them hidden so that students can't work ahead on these different ones if I don't want them to. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unhide this first one here. And, I should also point out a couple of other tools that are on here. You can resize it to fit with these tools, as well as change some of the colors of the background of the section. It's up to you, whatever you'd like to choose to use for that. Now, on here, you have some different tools. There is also a marker, which if I select the marker, I can illustrate, or I can say, focus on this part right here. I can use a highlighter if I want to highlight different words that are on the screen. There are some tools here that you can add some other features to. You can change the colors of the pen. You can even erase some of the things that you had done if you don't want them to appear that way. The washi tape, oh yeah. You also have the ability to add tape to it, maybe just make things stand out a little bit here and allow it not to move. And you have some different styles that you can choose from there as well. Okay. The next thing here that I want to show you is that you can have students choose to add a sticky note, like if they're going to give their response to something. And the students can choose different colors, and you can give the colors different meanings. But if I wanted to add a green sticky note, I drag that up on here. Now, that looks hard to see, but remember, I can simply zoom in on it, and I can say, here is my response, right? And it shows up with my name that I gave that. And David's going to show you how you can have students post in here anonymously or using their name through Google Classroom. And so those are some other options that you as a teacher have as well. There's our shape tools here that you can use to connect different things together. If I want to put a box in there and then I want to connect it to, let's say, another shape, I can add these different components. I gotta add that component. And you can use it to create flowchart type things on here too. There is a tool here to make a text box. And again, if I need to see it bigger, I can zoom in on it. And then once I do, of course, I can make the text any size that I want to. Maybe I want to add some direction onto this slide that I want people to be able to add things to. Another one of the features down here on the bottom is a table. So I can click and drag to add a table. If I needed to sort some information in a more of a spreadsheet type way, it's simple to do that and add that here. And finally, you can also add a stamp feature. And I think for this one, what I'm going to do is actually switch and go back to a previous one that I had done that has some responses on it. And, maybe what I can do is, choose to give some thumbs up. And I can add as many as I want to a particularly good response, right? I could choose to add my own image to it. Like that's hard to see, but again, if I zoom in, you can see that's my little picture. And any other reaction that you or other students would want to be able to give to it. Like if I think this is a especially good one, I can add more of that moving kind of a character to it. One other feature that I just wanted to point out here, because this one actually has some responses on it. If I select, let's say, this particular section, one of the tools that's on here is the ability to organize and summarize. It is an AI tool, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. But what it's doing right here in this box is that it just gave a summary of the different responses that people had and kind of brings them in together and maybe kind of leads you to more of a kind of a more focused discussion sort of topic that you could have with students based upon the responses that they had given. So those are some of the tools here. And you can see, I think, from the ones that I showed here anyway, that many of these tools are things that you had the ability to do within Jamboard, and they've carried over pretty directly right into Figjam.
All right. So now that Jeremy has shown some of the tools that you can use, I wanted to get a little bit more. There's a few things to the right that Jeremy had left, and I was going to cover those. And also, there's a menu at the top that I'm going to cover as well with some things that you can add in. As you can see my screen right here, I have one that I was working on, the elementary story mapping. So you could this right here is what I've got pulled up. So like this is one that I was already working on. And I think that one of the really cool things about FigJam as well is that you can pull from the various templates that they have, and then you can edit and change those to whatever you like. So for example, like if you wanted to start a brand new board, you could do that. And all I did with this one here was this was a template that I grabbed. So like if you click in this area here, you're going to get even more options for things that you can do. And I want to talk about a few of these things that are available. And so the first would be the templates. And so right away you can see like in my recents, I have that template that I used for the story mapping. And I didn't really change a whole lot on here. I basically went with what they constructed in this main area, and I added in these two sections here. And so I just kind of grabbed the template, and then it pulls it right in for you. And then, like I said, you can change things. So you can move the whole thing to wherever you want. You can resize it. You can also turn it if you would like as well. Um, that's one thing that I noticed about this right away, in comparison to things like Canva. If you're familiar with that, Canva has kind of a very, it's like a ready, um, one of those rotation tools, and it's usually found like up at the top. So one thing that's a little bit different about this is you have this rotator tool, so you can either pinch it or expand it, or if you go a little bit outside the box, that's going to be where you can turn things inside. So just something to be aware of. You can do it with individual items or the whole structure that you're working with. Um, and then, so just with this template here, like I said, I had added in these two. So some of the things that Jeremy was talking about, where, what if I want to just add something new? Like I pull in a square here and I can put it off to the side, add in a text box here if I want to. Or like what I did with this part was this was a section. So as you can see, I just made a section and I put in problem and solution. So that would just be in regard to this lesson. We're looking at like a story. So you have your story arc, you have the setting, character, or character details, lessons learned, and then I just put problem and solution as an added thing over here. But there's a ton you could explore here. This is just one that I had been working with. But you could, certainly, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, depending on your content area or the things that you're wanting students to work on, or even if you're just doing something for yourself that you want to organize some thoughts into, they have a whole bunch of things that are in here. So they've got like a recommended section, which you can expand, things for meetings, which, like for like Jeremy and my position, that's something that we frequently have meetings. So, honestly, it's a good like brainstorming area for if you're working with your team. Or, like if you're at school and you have a PLC or something like that, use a Figjam. This would be something that you could do as well. Some
And I think
diagrams.
maybe you'll touch on it too, but isn't there within the share features is the ability to share to a Google Meet?
Yes. Yep. You can. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and then you'd be able to collaborate on that. Um, if you go a little further down, there's some diagramming templates here, planning, brainstorming. So as you can see, there's no lack of things that you could explore and use that are at your disposal. So a lot of great stuff on here. This one just made sense for me because of the nature of what I wanted to show. And that was, kind of a elementary style example where you could have students complete this for their project. Before I move into sharing it to students, I wanted to just kind of cover some other things that are in here. So the templates are there. You can pull them in. Stickers, which I know Jeremy covered a little bit, but you can, pull in stickers to put on different items. You could basically grab, see this, and, put this into here if you want, or let me see if I can zoom in.
That's definitely, I've found one of the harder things to kind of remind yourself to do is to zoom in if you want to be able to see things a little bit better. But once you kind of get the hang of that, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's a really good point. That's something that I think you will do a lot because when you have stuff like this, you're wanting to work on certain little sections, and so you're going to be zooming in and out because one thing that you don't want to do is be trying to like edit the text on this from way out,
Yeah,
in
exactly.
space. So that's just you're making it harder on yourself. So we wanna work smarter, not harder. So
Yeah, and
um,
I notice you like to use the plus minus buttons down in the corner, which also zoom. And I did more of like with my trackpad, the
yeah,
the
yep,
scrolling with my fingers. But
sure. Yep, yep. Either way is good. Just don't make it painful on yourself, and try to make it easy. Um, so, and I think too, it's like you have such a large space, you could really add a bunch of different things on here, and then you know you're going to be maybe working on one section and then leaving another section alone, depending on because you could. I mean, it's a blank canvas, so it's pretty limitless in what you can do.
right. And
Um,
then with the ability to hide things, I mean, if you could really be
yes.
working in a
Yep.
totally separate area while your kids are doing something else on there and then lead them over to that section later on just by dragging stuff over.
Yeah. And I don't know if I can do it this way. I think I know, like, if I do it like this, I can just hide sections like that,
Mhm.
which I did not see that available here.
No, I think you can hide sections. I don't think you can hide your whole
Right.
presentation.
Yeah. So if you're highlighting a large section, looks like it's unavailable, but it's pretty clear when you're in individual space. You can just click the eye icon and it will hide that so that it's not distracting you in what you're trying to accomplish with another section or something.
Yep.
Um, Okay, and then you've got a few other things. So the widgets are in here. This I think would be very helpful in terms of what you want to do with, say, students. One of the things that I found interesting was stuff like this, where you have your flip a coin or dice that you could pull in and have it in here. So you roll the dice. All you do is click it and roll the dice. Um, there's a whole bunch of things in here that you could use, some that are more oriented towards professional tasks, but there's definitely things in here as well that you can do with students, like a calendar. I know this is one where we have, like, the ELC schools that I work with, we have where they do calendars all the time, and they'll put like little icons on here for the weather for that day and have the students help out with that and stuff like that. So definitely some cool options within the widgets. We'll just pull these off here real quick. And um, then you get into the plugins, which this is an area where I think you almost just have to explore yourself. But the best way to describe these is that things that can be added to your space that will enhance it in a particular way. So it's like, um, you know, like any program, if you add a plugin, it's going to give you an added benefit or feature that you could utilize within the Figjam space. And again, something that you should definitely look at and test out, see what maybe would be of interest to you, because there's a whole series of things in here that you have kind of a limitless selection in this area as well. So I just wanted to point out where some of those are. So Jeremy covered all of this stuff here in this area, and then over here is where you've got the different um, added items. And I think templates is probably the one that I find to be the most important, because that's a huge time saver, and you've already got some structures available to you with the templates, and then you can just change and swap out whatever you don't like. And I think that that's really helpful for just getting started and not having to create from scratch. And I think too, a lot of them are already very visually appealing, and they have good structure to them. Like the story arc one that I've got here, I think is really nice. And then, like I said, just add in the things that you want, if there's something missing. And this is a huge area, I think, that you just have to spend some time exploring. So um, then outside of that, what else we have is in the top right, you have a couple different things. One of the main things that I'm going to cover is this little area here, the timer, the music, and voting, and then the share option as well. So this right here does allow you to play music for one. So if you want to have some music playing during your session, you can do that. You can also set a timer for how long students would be working on something and start that timer, right? And then they would be able to just see that you have 20 minutes to work on something. Some cool little features that you can add in here for work time. And then they do have the voting option as well. The only thing about that is that you have to have the professional. So you would have to pay for the upgrade, whereas this version here is what we are offered through the educator program. So this voting feature would have to be an upgrade. Not terrible price at all. So if it's something that you feel you're going to use very consistently, maybe worth it to you. Um, and uh, and that's some of the items
You
that are
could vote
here.
with a sticker too. You could vote or a stamp, right? You could vote with a thumbs up, by how many thumbs up a certain,
Yeah.
thing on your board got
Yep.
would be your votes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you could do, like this if you had a bunch of them. This I think this is what you did too, kind
Yeah.
of, that could be a form of voting. So yeah, there's definitely workarounds if you don't want to pay for it and you want to be creative with how you might do that. Um, and then the last thing that I want to show is the share option. So the share option is where we can take and go into sharing it within something like Google Classroom. So you click the share button at the top right, and then you're able to connect to your Google Classroom, and then we'll do make a copy for each student in this case because they would probably be working in their own space. And you can still, if you would like to, you can create a space and have students work on it simultaneously. Just kind of depends on what your end goal is, because maybe you don't want them messing with your individual file. But it's a very good thing to point out, because you might have where, like, you intended to give them their own copy, but make sure that you change the permissions, because you might find that you've created something and then all of a sudden your original copy is all out of whack because the students started working with it. So just make sure your permissions are set. Um, if we're sharing it to something like Google Classroom, this is going to be the logical thing that you're doing, because you're having them work on it on their own. So we'll change it to that. You click next, and then what it'll do is it will pull up this little window, and it will ask you what class you want to make that a part of. So we'll put this in our fourth grade class. We will make it an assignment and click go. And then we can put in, story mapping, and we'll just do assign. Okay. And then we'll click view, and it'll pull it up in our class right here. Okay. And I had one in there already. And what I want to show you is from the student side. This would be like your student is logged in, right? So they're fourth grade class. They'll click on their class and then go to their classwork, and here is their assignment. So if they click on it, it's going to open up for them the Figjam. But so here's the thing. So we want to have, and it's not going to let me do this, just the nature of my domain here, but you'll want to have them sign in so that you can associate their account with the work that they're doing. Otherwise, what you're going to get is this anonymous. And the reason why you should have them sign in is because as they're working, if you recall, when we did our with here, when we shared and we did like our option, whatever they're doing right? They're going to be editing it with this part of it. So they'll be doing their edits and it will be logged in. And then what that will allow you to do is as they make their edits, you can actually change over to and see the list of the students. It'll have their name here, and then you can click on it, and it will show you what they're doing within that space. It's kind of like you can see here, it's like a little video. It'll show you what they're doing within that space. And you can, this is where too, you could, drop a comment in, or you could put a stamp in like, oh, hey, I'm not sure what you're doing with this section here. Maybe you add in a little text or something like that, and you could respond to their work that they're doing. So okay, so as they're working, again, you can view their work, and by just selecting it here and see what they're doing, and then again you got like your timer and all that type of stuff. So there's a lot of cool things you can do within the program, and get this out to your students so that they can be working in a digital space with all the different templates and things that are available to them. So um, Jeremy, any final thoughts at all?
No, I'm really excited for people to be able to use these tools, especially if you've used collaborative spaces like Jamboard before. I think it's going to be a small learning curve, and I think once you give this a try, it's going to be definitely there'll be a lot of tools there that you might even prefer over what you had with Jamboard. So I think it's a great tool to integrate, and I'm excited for people to use it. Yeah, so there's some really great things out there to use FigJam for. And right now, David and I just kind of, with this part one of FigJam episode, scratched the surface with some of the tools that you have available to you, just so that you can hit the ground running with very little bit of knowledge and background about the tool, and you can do a lot of great things with it. Next week's episode, we're going to dive deeper into FigJam, look at some of more of the collaborative features that are available, as well as some of the cool tools that we like to use, and start to look at some of the AI infused features that FigJam has available as well. So we hope you join us next time. Have a great week teaching, and we will see you then.